Hare Krishna. My name is Atul Govind, and I serve at the temple in Tucson, Arizona. And it's my good fortune to be part of this ISKCON society. My background is that I was born in Indiana, but I don't remember that place. And I lived in many places: California, Texas, Ohio, and I was raised in a family that was very traditionally Christian. And so my parents were very religious. They became Christians in college where they met. And they brought us up in a house that was dedicated to God, and they were trying to find a community to raise us in that was a God consciousness. And so growing up, I was very touched by the Christian tradition, Orthodox Christianity, and we had a tight-knit community, mostly in South Carolina. And there was a mood of being free from worldly influences and focusing on God and developing a relationship with God. So I was sheltered in large part. And this led to me becoming, on one hand, very much dedicated to God, on the other hand, wanting to know what the world had to offer. So due to some different influences, especially when I got older, I got more into worldly activities, especially in college, yet at the same time seeking something higher. And I had many questions from the Christian tradition that were difficult for me to answer, such as, why are some people born into a great situation and other people are born into a situation that is very difficult and very challenging? And so this led to trying to uncover some deeper truths about reality, and this led to a mixture of loss of faith, but also wanting to keep my mind open for more. So I was trying to discover deeper meaning in life. And I had met a friend who I was in college with, and he introduced me to Krishna Consciousness. He was actually my roommate previous to Krishna Consciousness, and I reconnected with him. And he was telling me about Krishna and it was very intriguing to me. It was also very foreign. So this introduction led me eventually to come to the temple in Tucson. And when I came in the temple, I was totally astounded. This person introduced me to Krishna, but also introduced me to other not so good things. And so when I came, I was actually intoxicated. But it felt like home. It felt very comforting. And this was my first experience. And my friend encouraged me to serve, so I served the prasadam that first time I came. And then I started exploring. Just a little, I guess going back a little bit background was that I had gone through some events in my life that led me to doubt God more, very difficult events, such as I had an idealized version of romance and love, and that all fell apart for me. And so just due to my own suffering in my life, I was trying to uncover what I'm here for, what the purpose of life is. And I began trying to change the world in different ways. I joined a political campaign, libertarianism, to do away with government inflicting harm on others, on taking away freedoms, and yet this conflict was going on within, yet I still wasn't finding deeper answers to life. And so this struggle actually led me at one place, especially when I was going to school, to just cry out. I just remember walking down the street and crying, just saying, God, where are you? Who are you? What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose for all this? What is this existence? What is this life? And it was coming from my heart, from my soul. I was involved in varieties of activities, just basically covered in materialism, yet seeking answers. And so devotees really were a shelter for me. When I came to the temple, I remember sitting in the Sunday feast. I started coming more regularly, and I remember seeing Mother Sundamani, the temple president and disciple of Prabhupada, who started that community in 1987 with some other devotees, just looking at me very compassionately. There's so much compassion in her eyes. And so I just started wanting to come to the temple more. And then I met a friend, Dr. Sean. He gave me a Bhagavad Gita. And it was a little intimidating because I was kind of used to the Bible, and there's so many names in the Bible, there's so many places, there's so much details about different people, yet I had lost faith in the Bible to different degrees. Yet, everything that Jesus taught was totally confirmed later by Krishna Consciousness as being true. Yet there's different conflicting aspects of the Old Testament and the New Testament that didn't correspond with what I ascertained to make sense or be true. And so I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, but I didn't get very far because the first chapter kind of reminded me of the Old Testament, and it just didn't make a lot of sense. It was kind of like repeating the same thing. And so I stopped reading, but I still kept on coming. I still stayed connected. I started going to the Govindas, and my friend Sean encouraged me to be vegetarian. And he also invited me to a lecture that my Gurudev to be would be His Grace Jivananda Prabhu, who was preaching a lot in Tucson. And he gave a beautiful lecture that really just totally touched my heart and inspired me to really investigate even further. And so from there, I just found myself asking questions. Every devotee that I would meet, I would just ask question after question after question. And things that wouldn't resonate or I didn't understand, I would ask a question. But then the answers came, and the answers were so powerful, and they really spoke to what I believed to be true. They resonated with me. And then when I started reading Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita further, Science of Self-Realization, His Grace Gangeya Prabhu told me that I should read Science of Self-Realization first. So I started reading Science of Self-Realization. And Gangeya Prabhu, he was actually a great comfort to me because I was going through so many struggles. I was suffering in so many ways. And Gangeya Prabhu, he really was calm and peaceful and loving and open. And so I would come when I came to the temple, and I would ask him questions and confide in him. And other devotees, Mother Sundamani, of course my Gurudev. My Gurudev really inspired me to start chanting. And so I remember chanting 16 rounds for the first time, being at the temple all day and doing service, and telling him when I ran into him, because he was staying at the temple, I did 16 rounds today. And then he was just so encouraging and inspiring me more and more. So this is just such a wonderful experience. And then growing up in the culture in the West, and just in Kali Yuga in general, this modern age, where we eat meat regularly. Of course, I grew up eating meat. That was okay. In Christianity, that was okay. And I never thought I could be vegetarian because that's just a staple of our diet. But the Govindas there, the food was just so incredible. I just found myself wanting to eat there more and more. And then my friend Sean, Dr. Sean, he encouraged me to be a vegetarian. He took me to a shop and he showed me the different foods that I could select and I could prepare. And so I made that leap. I became vegetarian. Then I just started feeling lighter within. After becoming vegetarian, I started feeling more connected to everyone. And I was just becoming more happy. And I found myself just wanting to be at the temple more and more. And wanting to hear more and more. I really loved to hear, and I started to love to read. And I would start listening to Bhagavad Gita on audio at my home. And then one devastating occurrence happened for me. I was in a relationship at the time, and this person that I thought I would spend the rest of my life with ended up totally being a disaster. And I felt very hurt. And at this point, I decided I just want to be at the temple. I just want to stay at the temple. I just want to do service. And so I remember requesting Mother Sandamani. I said, Mother Sandamani, I'd already had a relationship with her. I'd already done service for quite some time. I'd like to move in the temple. And immediately, almost immediately, without skipping a beat, she went and got a key for me for one of the rooms. And it was unprecedented. It's like, this doesn't happen in the material world. Someone doesn't just say, oh, here's a key, move in. So, yeah, that was my beginning when I moved into the temple. And then from there, I think it was about maybe 2.5 years before I became initiated. And there was many challenges, but at the same time, the most blissful and wonderful and growing experience of my life. And I'm still there. To this day, I'm still living there and serving there. And Krishna Consciousness is an ocean of experience. It has the deepest knowledge that gets to the root of our existence, about who we are, about who is God, why do we suffer in this world, what is the purpose of anything, why does anything exist, and where should we be putting our time to gain the highest benefit for ourselves and for everyone else. So due to the mercy of the devotees associating with people with deep faith who have experienced and have realized bliss in Krishna consciousness, my own faith has deepened. And I would recommend this journey to anyone, even with all the challenges, even with all the difficulties. I would do it again and again, and it really does feel like home. The devotees feel like family. The temples feel like the place of serenity and peace, yet loving service. And prasadam is just the most incredible meals you could ever imagine. Most incredible foodstuffs. And Krishna is the person whom the essence of all beauty is, and the essence of all attractive force. And Krishna can draw our hearts away from this world, away from the suffering, away from the ambiguous nature of this world. He can give us clarity. And I had this experience because before everything was so unclear, before there was so much lack of direction, and before there was just so much dissatisfaction. And now in Krishna consciousness, there's difficulties, there's challenges, there's still hard work, there's still ego to work through, to fight through, there's still days that are confusing. But the overall trend is one of this deep connection being established. Because before, I remember in college, there's feelings of loneliness that come. I had anxiety and depression that came. I never had those at home. I was sheltered for the most part at home. Our family didn't have a TV until I was 10 years old, and then a computer until a couple years later. And so I was very sheltered at home. And when I got into college, into the heat of the material energy, then it was just like a hurricane. And Krishna conscious became this deeper shelter. Like when I was growing up, there was a shelter of a pious home. But when I found Krishna consciousness, that became deepened and solidified. Jesus' words became deeper and more solid, more solidified. And my connection with Jesus became deeper. Jesus' words stood out. When Jesus said, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That was solidified in understanding we can actually know who this person is, who this Father is, that Jesus wanted us to connect with. Jesus said, together we're going to go to my God and your God, to my Father and your Father. So Jesus spoke this message of loving God, of going to God. And so in Krishna consciousness, everything that Jesus taught came to life. It was like the envelopment, the unveiling within the heart and within the mind of Jesus' words. And so I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to have found Krishna consciousness. I'm very fortunate to have found the devotees. And I pray that my faith deepens, because I know when my faith and knowledge of these truths, these very ancient truths of Krishna consciousness, brought by Srila Prabhupada very mercifully to us when he came to America, I know that when these truths enter deeply within, then I'm on solid ground, and I can be also an instrument for Srila Prabhupada to share this mercy and these teachings. And I'd also like to just mention my experience with when I came to the temple for the first time, the kirtan. The kirtan was just like a soothing river to my soul. The kirtan was flowing and breaking through, at that particular moment, all the anxieties in my mind, all the distress. And I could be in the present in that moment and just experience something sublime. So Krishna was so kind to me. I came in a very state of ignorance, a mode of ignorance. But Krishna, I think Krishna heard me. I think he heard me early on when I was in college, when I was walking, when I cried out to God, please reveal yourself, please tell me who you are. I think because of that moment, Krishna, when I came into the temple, he gave me a taste, and he revealed himself in that instance. And then that attraction of Krishna through the devotees, through the prasadam, through chanting, that attraction just drew me in, and I never wanted to leave, and I'm still there. So maybe I'll be there forever, I don't know. But due to the mercy of the devotees in Krishna, anything's possible. So thank you, very grateful to be in Krishna consciousness, and I pray your highest success in spiritual life and all blessings. Hare Krishna.